and that you understand your process for redeploying or recycling your inventory. This is going to be essential for mitigating cost by potentially turning old inventory into cash money. And then our objectives are going to be to ensure that you have the ability to control cost in your mobility program in areas that should be easily controllable. Find that data in Mobility Central and figure out how to make and save money with the application. As usual, all of our webinars are posted up to our help and training site. We'll be posting this as soon as it processes from the recording. All of you are on mute, so at the end of the call, we'll be pulling up the Q&A panel, figuring out what questions that are still out there need to be answered. We also have three polls and a survey we'd like you to fill out while we're going through this call. It's going to help us understand how we should gear these webinars in the future. Let's get going. So the first thing is a monthly process, and I want to find out from all of you, how do you manage your mobility programs? I'm going to open up the first poll, and it's just a quick question that asks, how do you manage your mobility program? Do you do it daily, weekly, monthly, or do you have no idea whatsoever? If you can just click on the polling and submit a response for us, we'll just take a couple minutes. And we have more than half of the people taking that poll, so I'll go ahead and move on. Please continue to submit those responses for us. This is an example of what a monthly process looks like. You've got something like this, I'm sure, at your desk. It probably decorates your cubicle, makes you feel good every day when you come in. With Mobility Central, you're going to be updating users and inventory, publishing inventory information, billing information, tying the billing and inventory to people, generating reports, analyzing those reports, taking corrective action. This is what your monthly process looks like. So we're going to focus primarily on delivering, analyzing, and taking corrective action on this webinar. Let's look at some categories of bad spend, what we would consider to be bad spend. Well, we think that bad spend has four main categories. This is just from a customer success type of training point of view, so it's nothing formal. I didn't do any research to pull this up. These are the main categories that I've found as I've gone through the data with customers across different verticals using the data they've posted to the application. The first one is that it's end user initiated. The end user did something to give you a cost. The other one would be plans and features that were improperly configured. If you haven't submitted your responses on that poll, go ahead and do so now. We have about 10 seconds left to submit those. Next is inventory management. So if you have bad spend related to how you're managing your inventory or how you're delivering data out to your end users, mismanagement of your own time can be considered bad spend when it comes to how you deal with the application and your job day to day. For the vast majority of the people that we talk to, we don't find them to be their only task is managing mobility. Some examples for end user initiated bad spend are downloads, 411, premium messaging, MMS, which is multimedia messaging. That's just attaching a picture or video to a text message. Initiating stock software. So this is something that a lot of people don't know a lot about. A lot of these devices on the different carriers come preloaded with software. Probably the most familiar would be Verizon Wireless Let's Golf 2. By virtue of opening that software and giving it certain authorizations, you can have that cost billed back to you as a company. These are not going to include downloads done via the iTunes or Google Play stores or any other third-party app development stores that reside on the device but bill their personal cards. Plan and feature configuration. This is another type of bad spend. So we have people on individual plans versus pooled plans. What's the best option for you? Some messaging problems, or do we have too many or too few messages? People have insurance and roadside assistance on their company-owned devices. Whether they added it specifically or not is not the point. They're showing up on your bill, and we want to make sure you know how to find those. And especially things like downloads for navigation software. Do you want your employees downloading navigation software when they may be able to use a free service like Google Maps or Apple Maps? Inventory management, how do you make sure mobile numbers are canceled, and what do you do with your old inventory, including redeploying and recycling, potentially saving money by not pulling new equipment costs over every month. So this is where we'll invoke poll number 2, get this open, and this is where we want to know how you categorize the bad spend in your organization based on what we talked about. Is it user-initiated? Do you think the majority of your bad spend in your organization is plans or features related? Do you think it's inventory management or manpower related? Just want to click an answer for me and submit those. We'll do that. Once I get about half the people submit that response, we'll come through and go on to the next slide. Just need a couple more responses. Appreciate those of you who have already filled it out. Outstanding. We'll go ahead and move forward. The poll stays open. Please submit your responses whenever you're done. So, bad spend locations in Mobility Central. Let's see how we're going to go through this. So I'm pulling up the application, and I'd like to show you firsthand how you're able to find some of these bad spend locations in the application. You've probably seen a lot of these during your initial walkthrough training, and it's probably also been a while since you've been through that training. So let's review this like it's brand new. We have some summary sections. So the summaries are going to let you audit these plans and features and costs. The first one is in your plans and features summary. One of the areas we pointed out were people who had individual plans when maybe you think everyone should be on a voice pool. So here are all the people who are listed in an individual plan that we think are in a voice pool. This is again in the plans and features summary. I just chose the option individual out of the drop-down box. I've got also my downloads. This is something a lot of you are familiar with. Here's Get It Now download. This would be through the Verizon Get It Now store. We have nav routes, nav global. We have telenav, GPS, quite a few different variations on different navigator services. Premium messaging, which is different than picture messaging. Premium messaging is, for example, donating to Hurricane Sandy relief via your wireless devices that your employees own or are using. Other includes things like roadside assistance and insurance, these different equipment protection plans, $5 a month, that'll be $60 a year. That's something that over the course of 10 people, $600 a year, maybe you want to save that money. On the spend dashboard, we also have our zero usage metrics, which we've talked about a few times in previous webinars, including zero international voice usage, data usage, and the combination of those two. Now, these metrics are going to identify where we have a feature applied to a line of service that allows for an international voice or data component. So we're going to give you, the carrier is going to give us discounted voice and data rates since we have that feature on the line of service. Well, one way you can save money is by making sure that people who aren't using this feature don't have it active month over month over month. And in our itemized section, so in this case in the bill details, this itemized section, we could allow you to take the action on the audit you just did. So you see the number of months no international voice usage. We can set up alerts or send emails based on that data. and data usage. Zero total usage is the new metric for the 3.4 release that highlights all non-usage from push-to-talk, messaging, voice, or data. Another summary level view is our plans and feature spend. So we look at additional voice charges, for example. This is a plan and feature that's improperly configured. Right? If we're on an individual plan and we went over our individual minutes and the voice pool is underutilized, then that means we're probably not spending that money wisely. This $376 is likely an unnecessary cost. 411 usage, that's a user-initiated cost. So you have to dial 411 in order to get that charge. While things like additional data and additional international messaging, it may not be so clear. Additional data, maybe they've got the best data plan that's available, and additional international messaging, maybe they need to use international messaging for their job purpose. So it's the user initiated it, but it may just be lack of plan or feature that would give you the charge. From a summary level as well, we give you the zero usage metrics right here in the middle, and plans and features, monthly spend and usage summary. We'll show you whether you have zero voice or data usage, and then the total cost for those plans for that month. As well, you have the feature list. So in this case, for downloads, it was $539.83. Insurance was $50 this month. Other included roadside assistance. So these are some categories. Finally, you can see how these non-recurring charges spend are trending over time. So over the course of this month, roaming voice was the primary contributor to your overage, and it was higher than usual. While additional domestic messaging charges have gone down month over month and represent a smaller slice of your non-recurring charges. When we're looking at the plans and features summary, we drill down into our plans and features list view. So this is where we would find the itemized information for the different types of downloads. So feature detail, the category was downloads that we looked at. It's the same as drilling down on that metric on the dashboard here. So get it now, download, mobile purchases and downloads, description, provider, and the cost. On the topic of easily mitigated costs as well, we can use our reporting functionality in the application to pull up additional detail and even create views that are important for future reports. So in this case, we've got 411 charges for our standard mobility group. We've said these people are in a basic budget, and I want to make sure that they don't use 411. So in this case, I've got the mobility group name equals standard, and 411 is greater than 0 for the latest billing month. I can set this up as an alert and then use that alert functionality to monitor this cost month over month. So recycling and redeploying inventory. This is where a third poll is going to come in. We're going to ask, what do you do with your old inventory? So we've opened up the poll. We've got a couple of options. One, it gets returned when an employee leaves the company. It's redeployed to another user. It gets recycled, or it gets put in a box somewhere and is never seen again. More often than not, we see it gets put in a box somewhere and is never seen again. And we're seeing as well a trend in people letting their employees take equipment as they leave the company. Get a few more responses from that poll, and then we'll get into the demonstration section of the application. Brilliant. So when we want to redeploy inventory, this again is part of our inventory management webinar that we just did. The inventory that is unallocated is what we can redeploy. So in this case, I have 57 items in an unallocated state. 13 are SIM cards, 35 are devices, and I have 9 devices and mobile numbers that aren't assigned to anyone. Out of that 9, out of this total of 213, one of them is suspended, and 204 are incurring cost. I can use the inventory management section of our application to redeploy inventory pretty easily. So you have to imagine that someone comes in and says, I need a replacement device. So I go to the box, I grab one, I pop off the back and battery, and enter in the last 5 of the IMEI. And it's this awesome Samsung T259. From here, I can use my Manage Inventory workflow to assign this to the right person. Potentially either provide them a different phone number so there's a variety of things that we can do through this workflow all at the same time to allow us to redeploy a piece of inventory that's in the box. Now, the other nice thing is that something that we're seeing customers do more and more as well is recycling their old inventory. There's a lot of good services out there for recycling inventory. So what we'll do is we'll pull up an end user and we say, Toby left the company and we asked for his phone back, but we're not redeploying this LG Extrovert out to anyone. So the first thing I'll do is I'm going to return the inventory and say, this is returned and ready for recycling. In my device history, where all of these notes are kept, I've created a view called Inventory for Recycling. These are the things that I have available and ready for recycling. Now, in the device history section, what I did is created a view. I included the columns that were most important to me, including cost center, department, employee ID, username, and then the device information naturally. I set a filter that says Notes Contains for Recycling. This allows me to go in and pull up all these transactions where any of my mobile administrators have said this inventory is ready to go be recycled. I could export this out to Excel, and now I have a good tracking log of stuff I should be sending out for recycling. When I'm in the process of reconciling my data each month, I have phone numbers that stop billing, and in this case, these phone numbers stopped billing because I canceled them, and they haven't billed since they were last supposed to. They're not tied to a person. I'm ready to go recycle them. So I get these together, put them in the box, and I go to delete this inventory. And I select an option that says recycled. And maybe I want to put the order number from the website as another note. Again, in my device history section, I've got one that says recycled inventory. So now I can kind of keep an eye on things that should have been recycled already. So here's my previous order. Here's my current order. These are all ways that I can just track recycling using the device history section of the application. We know from tracking on our side that device history doesn't get used a lot. And this is just one of many cool ways that you could use the device history to even put money back in your mobility program. All right, I'm going to check the Q&A panel, see if anyone's got any questions so far. You have the option of entering any questions in the Q&A or chat panels as you like. The next section we'll look at is communications and alerts. This is an example of an email that comes out of our user summary section of Mobility Central. The reason I posted it is just a lot of us have never even seen what an email looks like. We've got an email examples document up on our help and training site. If you ever need help finding that, reach out to your customer success team. They'll be happy to show you where it is. It gives you examples like this of email we send from Mobility Central, or that leave our mail server that you initiate through the user interface. The reason that alerts and email communication is really important is that more often than not, the end users don't know that they've done something wrong. Sometimes they inherit a mobile number from someone else. Sometimes a messaging service has been unlawfully attached to a phone number. There's all kinds of articles all over the internet as to how that physically happens. The point is that you can show up with these charges, which you can communicate out to your end users to have stopped. Premium messaging is a great example. In the premium messaging section, we actually show you the short code that got charged, and the end user can just text the word stop to that short code. These alerts are ways of keeping an eye on various flavors of reports that you've got in the application. So you saw I had a view for 411 charges for the standard mobility group. I also have my downloads, which is in my plans and features section, and just pulls up all download costs for the latest 1 month of billing, where the category is downloads and the feature is greater than 0. I also have a variation that shows me how many of those downloads did not have the letters NAV. We see Telenav, Navigator, all the different flavors of navigation that may show up in our descriptions. So as a high and fast swing, we'll just say, show me everything where the feature name does not contain nav. We could go an extra level and say, and where the feature description, I'm pushing F to cycle through these, does not contain nav as well. This just narrows my list down and allows me to perform a targeted communication to my end users. So in this case, I have 53 items that don't have Navigator out of, let's see, refresh this, in progress. So the delta here lets me know how many navigation items I have. Now this comes in as an email every time we publish your invoice. When you have to the distribution list, you have designated in your settings section in the upper right-hand corner here. You can also set up these email templates so you don't have to generate these emails month over month over month. So for example, new equipment charges. Hey, I show you an equipment charge below for a member of your team. This is just going to managers. Just lets them know, hey, by the way, when we do your chargeback, this equipment charge is probably going to make your numbers look a little weird. Messaging allowances with 0 usage. We talk about some improperly configured plans and features. Well, in this bill details section, we have messaging usage and all the different variations of that. So in this case, messaging allowance where you went over your messages and by how much that cost. That also includes some international as well. People who aren't using their messaging. So messaging allowance with 0 usage. Well, when you see that a domestic messaging allowed here is unlimited, and we see the cost of that feature is $20. Well, this is a demo environment, so you have to forgive me, but the cost of the feature is somewhere in the $20 range. You may not want to spend that $20 every month when somebody's not using their messages. Maybe they $200, $450, $250, whatever that messaging plan is, that makes more sense. Will save you a little bit of money. The last section that we talked about were reporting inefficiencies. And this is where our 4th poll comes in. So go ahead and, if you're not looking at us yet, come back to the WebEx. We're going to open up the fourth poll here, but now we want to know how your users access data in Mobility Central. So do they log in directly? Do you send them email from Mobility Central that has the data points in it? Do you send a report out through your email program? Do you take, as an example, VP number 1 and customize a report for them, VP number 2 and customize a report for them? Do you not send any data out to your end users? These are all valid things, but what we want to highlight is where we can gain you some efficiency with delivering data out to your end users. The way we're going to do that is through our role-based access functionality. With role-based access, I'm able to designate another individual as a cost center department manager, location manager, and this allows me to better deliver data out to my end users and management team. I'm going to log in as a manager. And aside from needing to take the ring to Mordor, Yolanda Weaver has the responsibility of quite a lot of people in her organization. She automatically gets assigned the spend summary view, but as the administrator, Dawn, also assigned her some of these, assigned all non-administrators some views that they may find useful. So in this case, show me everyone who is on my team who is an international traveler who needs an upgrade. This is going to be my direct and indirect reports. I can look at one specific team if this list is really long. In this case, I can see when they were upgrade eligible, how much their device budget was based on their mobility group, and their current make and model of device. From here, if the administrators enabled it, I can send email or even export the data out to Excel. Additionally, I can take the same 411 report. In this case, I have the 411 usage over $4. This is what's shared with my managers. It's a little different than the 411 usage for people in the standard mobility group. Maybe I don't want to really bring people's attention to it until it goes over $4. So here's that list right here. Again, send email, export to Excel. It comes right out. Now, Yolanda, in this case, is a second-tier manager. She's the Chief Operations Officer. As a result, she's a very busy lady. She does have an executive assistant, and Dawn went ahead and assigned Andrea Henderson responsibility over Yolanda's cost centers, department, and team. When we look at Andrea's profile, you can see Andrea does not have a device. Andrea does not have a corporate device anywhere, doesn't have to worry about policy, but Yolanda can take some of that time that she would need in order to analyze the reports that an administrator was sending, in this case, Andrea can log in and run the same views, get the same data with access to the same structures as Yolanda. So if you're customizing reports every month and sending those out via email, or you're sending them out manually through some other method, especially if you're creating those reports in Excel, you want to consider inviting people into Mobility Central and letting them run the reports as they need them. Again, we allow read-only administrator access as well. So this allows people to come in and get the same administrator view that you've got, just they're not able to make any changes. And Cost Center Manager, which is cost centers, departments, locations, and teams. Go ahead and open it up for any questions. Does anyone have anything in the Q&A panel they want to add? I'll go ahead and take everyone off of mute and allow you to ask questions as you like. And I'm going to open up the survey, our ending survey here. If you would go ahead and fill that out before you hop off the call. Appreciate your time and hope that you found this useful. Questions? Appreciate all the survey responses. If you don't have any questions, feel free to jump off the call. Again, we really could use your help with the survey. The survey responses are going to help us guide our future webinars and functionality. Otherwise, we appreciate your time. Feel free to hop off the call at your leisure.
Vincent? Hello?
Hello?
Hi, Vincent?
Yes.
Hi. This is Marie. I got on the call a little bit late. I was having technical difficulties. Was this training recorded?
Yes, it was. We'll be posting it on the Help and Training site. I'll go ahead and share that right now so you can see where we'll be posting that. Every time we run a webinar, I have to sign in as an administrator. In the upper right-hand corner under Help and Training, you'll get a pop-up window, and on the right-hand side there is a recorded webinars link, left-hand side.
Perfect.
And we'll post that. It'll be at the top of the list.
Alrighty. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thanks for your question. Any other questions, comments, concerns? All right. I'm going to go ahead and leave the call on until we get the poll closing out in a couple minutes. Otherwise, I appreciate your time, and I'll just be on mute. Let me know if you have any questions.
To unmute your line, press *6 or #6.